Houston's original neighborhood downtown is for everyone, and right now is the perfect time to check out their Market Square Park Farmers Market. Every Saturday until November 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Farmers Market is putting a spotlight on local growers and makers who are providing access to seasonally fresh and affordable fruits and vegetables, plus meat proteins and prepared foods, as well as other household goods. There's also live music from local artists and other entertainment, and it's free. You can learn more at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived. Today on CityCast Houston, we all know the Latino community is fundamental to H-Town and Texas, but now we're learning more about their growing economic impact. Plus, get ready for higher property taxes in Harris County. And another layer of drama has been added to the turkey leg hut saga. Houston Landing's diverse communities reporter Danya Pérez joins me to recap those stories and more. It's Tuesday, September 24th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Danya, what's up? Welcome back into CityCast Houston. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me again.
I'm so excited to talk with you. How was your weekend, by the way?
It was great. I actually spent the weekend in San Antonio. So it was a good little break from hecticness. But yeah, I'm back. I'm happy to be back in Houston too.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm back too. As I mentioned on Friday's episode, I was at my daughter's Girl Scout camp doing the dad chaperone life, and I was on the water all day doing the canoe badge. And my voice is a little shot because, you know, when you're out on the water, you're yelling at these girls like, hey, please leave that life jacket on. So voice is a little shot, but it was so much fun. I just love that weekend, and we are back and refreshed, ready to go. So let's talk about some big stories that are impacting us this week. And I want to start with you because this is an important one about our Latino community.
Yes. So we've been keeping track of this since the spring. We wrote like an initial story that looks at the economic power of Latinos in Houston based on a research that came up. And now we have a new research study that looks at the economic power of Latinos across the U.S. And it gives us a glimpse also of Texas, because as we know, it's one of the states with the largest share of Latino population as well. So this particular study actually tells us that the economic power of Latinos living in the United States rose from $3.2 trillion in 2021 to $3.6 trillion in 2022. So that was quite a hop. In our last story that we had in April, we had the 3.2. We were looking at that. So the reason why we decided to follow up with the story was because of that big jump from 3.2 to 3.6, and then, you know, diving a little deeper into what does that mean. So the economic power of their work, you know, like wherever you work and the money you're making through that, any companies you have and you've built, and that means that creates jobs, right? The products you offer, your purchasing power, all of that combined kind of gives us an idea of like what that means for the economic power of the United States as a whole. So this particular growth for Latinos in particular surpassed the economic growth of many major economies across the world. So that means that, you know, we have a growth that surpasses that of entire countries across the globe, which is super interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And just the Houston metro area, which includes the Woodlands and Sugarland, is home to about 2.8 million Latinos. And the impact of all those Latinos was over $139 billion when it comes to the gross domestic product, or GDP, in 2021. So that right there, that's a huge number, and that's a lot of business. But do you feel like it's being represented in other aspects of our life and our community, especially leadership roles in business and corporations?
Yeah, so we spoke to some experts. I mean, one of them, a huge shout out to Dr. Laura Murillo from the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And she obviously keeps a close tab of what's happening with Latinos, right? Especially in businesses and economics in general. And she said, obviously, this is not necessarily surprising to her because she's actually been keeping track of this for like over 16 years at this point with the chamber. But she did say that we have a lot of work to do, right? We have a lot of work to do when it comes to representation in top leadership positions in big companies, especially, for example, boards that actually pay their board members to actually give their expertise about a certain pocket of the population. So she says that it's time to kind of catch up on that end, because if we want to tap into the economic power of our Latino residents, then we also have to have people at the top positions that understand what this community needs, what this community has to offer in general, to be honest. And she says there's a lot of work to do at the top. So that's to be seen in coming years, if through all of this data that's coming up, if it actually results in changes at the top.
One last thing on your story, Danya, that really stood out to me was the role of education. And over the last 5 years, the number of U.S. Latino adults with a bachelor's degree increased by 38%, while the number of those without a high school diploma declined from 15% to 11%. So that's another thing to keep in mind as we look at the economic impact and also the leadership positions in the near future. Okay, Danya, I'm going to get to my big story that we should all know about to start the week. And this one is about something we talked about in a previous episode about maybe it was going to happen, but it has officially passed. The Harris County Commissioners Court approved an 8% increase to the county's property tax rate, which is well above the normally allowed maximum of 3.5%. For a person who owns a home valued at about $400,000, they would owe an extra $160 in taxes. And if you're wondering, why didn't we get a say in this? Why didn't you get a say in this increase? Well, normally, if a commissioner's court in Texas wants to increase a county's budget by more than 3.5%, the court must receive the voters' approval. However, if the governor issues a disaster declaration for a county, that county is then allowed to increase the rate by a maximum of 8% for the following fiscal year without voter approval. Danya, what do you think about this?
I mean, I can see why residents are concerned, right? I mean, those increases, I feel like, add up, and especially without a say-so, that has to be scary. But I mean, I feel like disasters happen here so often that I don't know if this, could be really helpful in some ways, right? I mean, I don't know. I think there's both sides of the of the coin here.
Yeah, it is one of those things that, yes, we might have to increase it for the disaster because, look, it did cost money, right? But people were so upset when this went final and official. I saw both sides, Republicans, Democrats, anybody that lived in Harris County that knew about this were like, wait, hold on. Property taxes are going up. We didn't get a say in this. And that was the frustrating part, So that's just how it is, unfortunately, because of that declaration. And by the way, in total, the fiscal year 2025 budget will have a general fund of $2.6 billion. And you can read more about it with the link in our show notes.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
What's up, guys? It's the champ, Sean O'Malley, here to talk to you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. Run your game on Prize Picks.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
All right, Danya, are you ready for some lightning round?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, we often forget just how important the Port of Houston is to us, but it's the busiest container port in the Gulf Coast, and we might get an unpleasant reminder of just how much we depend on it at the end of the month. That's because longshoremen could go on strike come October 1st and shut down the Port of Houston. Danya, you and I were just talking about economic power, and the Port of Houston is another big economic engine for our region with an impact of $400 billion. How about that? This is kind of scary, Danya.
It sounds really scary. And I think a lot of the times we don't think about how that impacts us directly, but think of everything we're used to, expecting in a couple days or less, all of the packages that we get at home, everything that we're expecting those stores to have in supply a lot of the times could be impacted. So this is huge for the region. And to be honest, for the US, I mean, this is what the fifth largest port in the US, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
And by the way, there's a deadlock over the current contract between the International Longshoremen Association, which represents tens of thousands of dock workers at ports across the U.S., and the organization that represents carriers, port associations, and employers. That is set to expire September 30th. So that strike could start in October 1st. And as you mentioned, we'll feel the impact somehow, some way. We don't know exactly how much we'll feel it, but yeah, those packages, the goods that come in a store, they all come through here, right, for this region. So it could get a little scary.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to brace for that.
Okay, our next story, we are 41 days away from the general election. And Danya, the Houston Landing just put out this incredible guide called Your Voice, Your Vote to get us ready for every local race. Tell me about it because I know y'all have been working on it for a long time.
Yes, this is honestly a labor of love. I have to shout out our reporter, Tim Carlin, for doing this. And he is giving us the ins and outs of every local race that we can be expecting. And it includes interviews with some of the candidates. It includes information about that particular race. So go and take a look at it. I mean, we'll be, I know, talking a little bit more and including it in our newsletters a little bit more as the days go by. So be on the lookout for it and go get yourself informed so you can get out and vote.
Yeah, there's a lot in there from public safety to judges, going down to all the candidates you need to know about and what they represent. And by the way, we're going to do a deep dive into this as we get closer to early voting. So be on the lookout for that. It is a tremendous resource. I started looking at it already, and wow, there is a lot of information. So shout out to y'all at the Houston Landing. And Tim, great work.
Great work, truly.
Okay, our final story. This one is going out to our contributor, Antrashell Nova, because the turkey leg hut has kind of become her beat. And no joke, over the weekend, I received so many messages from listeners about this story. And it's that the iconic turkey leg hut was shut down for a moment of time after the Houston Health Department hit the restaurant with 35 health code violations. Some of them were conditions that pose an imminent threat to public health. How about that? The restaurant will stay closed until the violations are addressed. So they're not permanently closed, but they did post on Instagram saying they would open back up this week. Danya, the turkey leg hut drama is nonstop now.
It's nonstop, really. I have to say, I have not tried it to this day, but I feel like the drama has not been really helpful in this situation. I mean, as much as I want to try, I don't know, this latest instance might not be great for those of us that are still on the edge.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year for the Turkey Leg Hut. They filed for bankruptcy in March. There was a fire at their offices, and one of the former founders, Lynn Price, started his own venture, Oyster Hut, which has been doing pop-ups around Houston, and that's had its own issues as well. He even did a pop-up, by the way, in front of the Turkey Leg Hut, which is now owned by Nakia Homes, and she filed for divorce from Lynn back in 2023. It has just been a wild year for the Turkey Leg Hut. And this one, I mean, has serious implications, right, to public health. So we're hoping they can clean it all up. And just remember how big this restaurant was, right? Like Beyonce is posting about it. It has become the place to go for a lot of people visiting Houston. So we're hoping it gets back up and running because it is still very iconic.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It was one of the top restaurants on my list when I moved back to Houston to go try, but I feel like I also arrived in the middle of this mayhem of stories. So I don't know what happened while I was gone, but they seem to be putting out a lot of stories that they might not be too happy about.
This episode is brought to you by Vonage. Are you looking for a fast, affordable way to help your team work better together, even when they're apart? It's easier than you think. With Vonage Business Communications, your team gets a single application for voice, messaging, and video meetings that they can access from anywhere. Plus, it easily integrates with your CRM and other business applications to give your team the rich customer data they need to work smarter, not harder. Learn more at Vonage.com.
Want a website with unmatched power, speed, and control? Try Bluehost Cloud, the new web hosting plan from Bluehost, built for WordPress creators by WordPress experts. With 100% uptime, incredible load times, and 24/7 WordPress priority support, your sites will be lightning fast with global reach. And with Bluehost Cloud, your sites can handle surges in traffic no matter how big. Plus, you automatically get daily backups and world-class security. Get started now at Bluehost.com.
All right, Danya, let's go to Only in H-Town. And I've got a story here that both of us, we have to talk about this because only in H-Town can a Waltrip High School grad step in and try and make sure that current Waltrip students get a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That graduate is Mayor John Whitmire, and after he read a story that HISD refused to allow the Waltrip Marching Band to perform at the 2025 Sugar Bowl on January 1st, which, by the way, is the annual college football game that is played in New Orleans, because an HISD administrator told the school that New Orleans was, quote unquote, too dangerous of a town to perform in. What are we doing here, Danya?
I truly feel for the students. So, I mean, this is a perfect instance of, how decisions at the top end up impacting everybody at, quote unquote, the bottom, right? And in this case, it's the students who get to potentially would have gone to miss out on a great opportunity. So I'm glad somebody stepped in. It is very Houston that it turned out to be the mayor.
Mayor Whitmire reached out to HISD state-appointed superintendent Mike Miles and told him he would provide a Houston police officer to accompany and protect the students. Now, I'm glad the band may be able to go now because they have been raising money for the trip all year. And what a moment for them, right? From potentially not going at all to, hey, there's a really good chance we're going to be able to go because Mayor John Whitmire read a story on Cron.com.
Yeah. And honestly, in that effort, when you think of student-led efforts to raise funds, it had to be super heartbreaking for them to think for a moment that they weren't. But I'm really glad they're getting their happy ending in this sense.
Yeah. And I don't know how old the kids are at because marching band will have kids from all grades 9 to 12. But I feel like if you're a senior in high school, New Orleans is okay. That's when you go experience it. That's the first time I went. My parents took us as we were driving through to drive to Atlanta, and we stopped in New Orleans, and I was a high school senior, and I was blown away by the city. I was like, this is awesome. This is so much fun. It's we went on a Thursday night, and it was popping. Come on, it's New Orleans. It's fun, and they're going to get to experience it during one of the busier times of the year with the Sugar Bowl happening because you get college fans coming in from the two teams that are playing the Sugar Bowl. So it's a fun time to be there.
Absolutely. And I think it's such a gorgeous city too, that it could easily be played as an educational opportunity. Why not? Take them. I'm here for it.
I love it. Props to them. Hopefully they do get to go on this trip and enjoy the city of New Orleans, get some beignets, get some coffee out there and enjoy it all. Hey, Danya, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining us and hope to have you back on soon.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
That was Houston Landing's diverse communities reporter, Danya Pérez. You can read all of her work at houstonlanding.org. Please do me a favor, share this episode with 3 friends and give us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can get more Houston news by subscribing to our newsletter, Hey Houston. Thanks. That will do it for today. I'm Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new. Potentially happening in a previous episode. Okay, this is really bad. Give me a second. I'm going to go get honey because this is terrible. It's going in and out. Let me just get it real quick. Sorry, y'all.
That's okay. No worries. It sounds like it was worth it, though, the reason why your voice is shot. So,
yeah.